Welcome to Lady Audacity. I'm Alex.
And I'm Meredith. And today, before we get started, I want to throw it back to Alex because there's a pronunciation elephant in the room. And we're going to talk about it because if you guys don't know, it's understandable that you have questions. So, Alex, take it away.
I think first off, the dyslexia comes out hard. If you guys have been following me on Duchess MM Grace, you know I'm not a stranger to spelling errors, especially when I'm on a bit of a tangent. Words switch out to me, my brain moves very fast, my mouth can't keep up, and I don't know. I'm also a girl from Cali who really embraced the Valley Girl of it all. So it's just a mix of things there. I joke about it as a way I think to deal with the embarrassment I do feel, but I never want anyone to think I don't care. So,
Yes.
when I joke about it, never always know it's never coming from a place of not caring. Even if I may not necessarily respect a journalist like Tomney, I do want to get her name correct. And even the Queen of England, even if I don't really respect the position. So maybe I'll just go by their titles or go by their last names until I can really get that mill. We were literally just practicing it 30 seconds ago, by the way, and I still got it messed up. But hey, just know it does not come from a place of not caring. And I promise you, I am working on it. And when I joke about it, it's with love. So hopefully you guys can get a little laugh after you cringe.
No, I love that. And I think it's so important to remember that a lot of times people use humor to work through stuff. Like
Yes.
I have OCD and I will use humor to cope with it.
Yes.
My oddities and stuff. And I think it's just important for people to know just so they understand. This is not from a place
Yeah,
of not caring. This is
exactly.
dyslexia is a real thing. And Alex is brilliant and amazing
Thank
and
you.
strong. And it's not hard to not admit, but to share these things. But we thought it was important
Yes.
so that you guys understand that this is why it's happening. And we're going to try to put a little disclaimer at the top of every episode because you know what? It shouldn't be extra pressure on Alex. You know what I mean? We know
Okay,
what you're
fair.
saying. We can work on it, but also you have dyslexia. That's fine. That doesn't change the fact that you're whip smart
Yeah. And I'm a
and
valley
people love you.
girl.
You're a
I like to
valley
say
girl.
like a log and I talk
Also,
fast.
like accept regional accents. You know what I
Also
mean?
that too. Yeah, I feel like too like the British, like literally just from how we spell things, like color. Color. We spell color differently, by the
Why do you need a
way.
you? Why do you need a you?
Yes. And I love that in comments and people like, oh, you stupid American. And they'll just get me because of I don't put the you. And I'm like, first off, I'm not stupid, but yes, I am American. Okay.
And that's fine. And we
Thank you.
accept differences. I think we just have to I think it's a good lesson in not making assumptions about why people maybe
Yes.
misspeak about something. It's not out of ignorance. It's there's an actual
And it's
reason. It's
not
just
out
a
of
good
carelessness. Yeah.
it's a good reminder to pause and just maybe consider. But at the same time,
Same time.
we
I need to
haven't given
pause
we haven't
and
given the
speak and think.
audience we haven't given the audience this information. So this is just for you guys to know, and now you know. And let's get on
Yes.
with the show because we have a really exciting announcement.
I'm
I've been
like,
waiting. I'm so
I'm
excited.
very excited about
Just
this.
pretend drum roll so the audio isn't bad, and I'm obviously not adding it in because I don't have that kind of time. We have
Makeshift.
heard your pleas. We have heard them. You want more content. If we didn't have basically cheaper by the dozen between the two of us, well, half cheaper by the dozen, we probably
For me,
could,
another job, we would, yeah.
all the things. But we now are offering Lady Audacity premium content. We are on Patreon and Apple subscription. Those links will be in the show notes. We are going to be giving you additional content, at least one bonus episode a month, and it's going to be our deep dives. So, what we're doing for the month of June is we are giving you on the free feed a little taste of how these episodes are going to sound. So, you can decide, do you want to upgrade? Also, once we have commercials and stuff like that, you'll get commercial free content. You'll get all that good. And so, this is the exciting part. And I would like to thank Taylor Swift for breaking up with her racist boyfriend before we announced this. Because literally, when she started that Matt Healy stuff, I was like, girlfriend, we are trying to
Okay,
capitalize off your tour. You are not
like,
helping us.
And also, thank you, Taylor Swift, for showing us to always put a capital C in capitalism, okay, and exploitation. And even if I may not
Yes.
always agree with Taylor Swift, I am going to exploit her popularity and the fact that she's got some damn good lyrics,
Oh my
okay?
god. I listen to All Too Well 10-minute version in my car as if I am a newly ghosted 21-year-old. I mean, it's insane.
I'll admit I can't get that much into her new stuff, but Love Story, Our Song, I mean, give me a Red album any day.
Get
Okay.
me
Give me honestly,
1989.
even 1989. Yes, it was the height of white feminism. I do not care. I love her.
Although,
I love her then.
Have you heard Exile? The Exile off of Folklore? It is
No.
so moody,
I
and I
just
love
get so
it.
confused, honestly. Taylor, and look, I say this, and you're gonna hear me say this a lot in this Kate episode. I say this out of respect for the hustle, but I am saying it. The Easter eggs are a lot, and I love an Easter egg. I love an Easter egg, but I'm like, wait, folklore, karma, knew something. There's just a
Oh.
lot going on, and I'm always so confused. I think folklore and like one of the albums that she remade are the same thing, even though I know they're different.
Oh, we're gonna have to get into that sometime, but back
Yeah, you're
to the
gonna have to
Patreon.
explain.
Back to the
Yes.
Patreon. We got excited about Taylor. So, what we're doing for our initial series, it's going to be our own Eras tour, the Women of the Crown. We're going to have graphics. It's going to be cute. We're going to name each episode after a different. Are you day drinking? What do you have there?
No, not alcohol, energy drink, C4.
Nice, not sponsored, not sponsored. But maybe one
Not
day.
yet.
Not yet. So, our first deep dive, I am going to be covering Princess Margaret, and our theme is Lavender Haze for Miss Princess Margaret, because we are talking about love in quotation marks, her
Mhm.
complicated character. I texted Alex this, I found a document from 2004 that I think like breaks the lid open on everything about Princess Margaret's love and Pete
Yeah.
Townsend, and I am so excited to share it. So our first episode drops next week. You can go over to patreon.com/Lady Audacity, or we are on Apple subscription once the tax forms go through. I forgot to fill something out. I'm not going to lie. But it's going to be really fun. Also, one more change is that we are going to now have all of our show notes. We always give links to anything we talk about. That is now going to be on our Patreon, but it's going to be a public post. So if you ever want to see all of the show notes, every an article you want to dig into, you can go over to our Patreon. Those will always be up when our episode drops, public posts so that you can see all the show notes. So before we get into Miss Kate Middleton, should we do a bananas article of the week?
Yes, and I definitely think you should start us off with Bananas episode of the
Okay, so Miss Little Harriet the Spy over here might have cracked the case on who leaked to Tom Sykes. I think I did it. I might have done it, guys.
Please. I don't even know this either, you guys, so I'm very excited. I'm right with you. Oh my
Alex,
gosh,
I
the
have a
flow chart.
full mind map. I am showing her right now on the screen. It's psychotic. So anyway, an article came out for National Besties Day, and it's from the Mirror, and it is called Kate Middleton's Loyal Girl Squad, Royal BFF, School Bestie, and Holiday Pal. Honestly, the Bestie Squad, that's a very Taylor Swift. But anyway, so it goes into like the usual suspects. You have some of her turnip toff friends. You have Sophie Carter, who's her bestie. You have friends from college. You have obviously they got to put in Pippa there. Although I really wonder how close Pippa and Kate are, to be honest. I've thought about that before. And
I yeah.
yeah, no, you can go on.
No, it's just to say it's all of that is so interesting because one thing I have taken from Harry and Spare is kind of looking at the media and the narratives that we get. So I do think it's interesting about the Kate and Peepa thing because at one point they would kind of openly talk about how she would get annoyed with her family because it was very obvious at one point they were all trying to clout chase off Kate, which low key, I don't blame them. I mean, like their entire world changed. They're being called middle class like pieces of shit. Okay, like give me an influencer deal or two, thank you very much. If I'm going to be drugged through the mud and like supposedly have William's friends making fun of me because I was a flight attendant. Like, baby, slavery money. Okay, like give me a break.
Oh my god, I wish my facial expressions could talk because they're doing so much worse. Like I think I broke through my Botox.
Kate, when she's smiling really big at the kids at rugby, broke through that Botox. No.
Girl, listen, as
We
one
might have to
Botox
edit that out.
no, we're not going to. Allegedly, I'm an allegedly. It always cracks me
Allegedly.
it always cracks me up the whole, Kate getting baby Botox and it being, like, a huge scandal, and no, Kate does not get Botox. Listen, from one Botox white woman to another, listen, we crack. We crack, it's what happens.
Okay.
We're pale. There's a Botox forehead sheen that you only get from Botox. She has it,
Thank
and
you.
again, I say this out of love and respect because I have it too.
And may I
Allegedly.
add to this woman for sure was smoking cigarettes and I'm sure not putting enough sunscreen on and
Never,
just
we never
always
do.
out right yachting and doing her thing. I'm sorry, there is no way she looks like that without help after a good like all of her 20s doing that with William, okay? William aged like someone who doesn't get Botox and smoke cigarettes and didn't put sunscreen on.
And
Kate
it's
is not.
totally okay, and this is we listen,
Yes.
we condone we not condone, that's not the word. We support, any
Botox.
kind of self-care you wanna do. Anything you wanna
Yes.
do, you wanna build some cheekbones, you build cheekbones. You know what I'm saying?
And I will
So
say oops, sorry, and I'm
no,
not
it's okay.
saying this to pay the Megan tax here, but I will say because obviously Megan is beautiful, her skin is just immaculate and glowy, but you cannot tell me that it's pure skincare. It's just not possible.
Y'all, they're
Even
gonna
for a
get
girl who's
so
been
mad at
getting
you.
okay, yeah, she's been getting masked since she was probably like 13 with her mom. Her mom has beautiful skin too, but it's just like those things are important, but let's also be honest. And Megan does do it well because she still crinkles, you know, but she glows. It's just soft. Nothing hangs. She's always make sure it's up and at it. You know what I mean?
We're doing some sort of Medi-spa treatments is what I think, but the one time I mentioned that perhaps Megan got Botox and who cares? I People came at me.
Oh
People
yeah.
came at me. I was
It's
spreading rumors. It was wild.
Well, it's funny just, like, the rooted misogyny it all is, because I mean, this is all, whether we like it or not, is still deriving from, like, the patriarchy and us needing to be young and beautiful forever, even if we do enjoy these things for ourselves. Like, I love makeup, I wanna get these things, but I also know it's still somewhat rooted in wanting to be young and beautiful forever and being scared
Yes.
of not being that, but it's like, why would you think people like Megan and Kate wouldn't be going through that fear 10 times what we are? They are in the spotlight, for goodness sakes. It's like, they're not
Exactly.
getting messages telling them be natural and age beautiful. They're getting the complete opposite message. Kate has a royal family on her shoulders, okay, to get through to the next century. She's not going to do it aging.
I think what they're being told is to look like you're aging naturally while not. You know what I mean? It's like
Yes,
appear like it's natural. It's almost like it's a smoke screen kind of thing. You can't really
exactly.
say that you do it. It has to, but you also shouldn't be looking old and raggedy. Also, wait, the mirror, I forgot about the other person that they included. They were really just
Oof.
just churning the bottom of the barrel here. They put Sophie Wessex is one of her besties, and I said, "Child, stop trying to make the new Fab Four happen. They are not besties. Give me I'm sorry. I don't
I'm
believe it."
honestly wondering if we're going to get a Beatrice and Kate are besties because of the Jordanian royal wedding. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Because a lot of the
perhaps.
fans were loving that. They would like that. They
New
would
fa
like
no,
it.
Fab Four 3.0,
Seriously,
you
with
know?
Ito and his
It reminds me
poem,
of
I'm sorry.
every new Summer House series. It's like, "Hey, I'm Carl. I'm 2.0 Carl. I'm not a fuckboy anymore." It's like, no,
Literally.
it's still the same
How many
person, but this is what
3.0,
they do.
4.0 Carls would make it the Fab Four we're gonna get? It's never gonna happen. It didn't happen the first time. Just quit it. They're a duo,
Just
William and
stop.
Kate. They honestly don't need anyone else, and I don't think they want anyone else. So let's
I
go.
agree, and it's interesting though, who is missing from the gal pal list is Rose Hamberry, which now remember, allegedly this rural rift did not happen. There was a super injunction put against everything, so that they squashed the stories. Rose and Kate's are totes fine, totes friends, and yet she is not on this bestie list along with other turn up tops. I am just saying. I don't know if that helps the rumors. So back to the Mirror article, they mention a couple different people, and one of the people mentioned is Lady Laura Mead. And that's when I get back to my handy dandy mind map here. I tried to mind map as many of the turn up toffs, like the regular crew. Not the people that come like summer house that come and visit for like a hot weekend. I'm talking about the mainstays. We're really making an analogy here. So
Yes.
what I want to bring up is the fact that Tom Sykes, in that article that you read last week, says that a daughter of an earl is the one that kind of gave him this information about the alleged, rift. And that's how he got it. And so it was like, who is a daughter of an earl? And a lot of people made a really good point. Well, Beatrice and Eugenie, you know, Andrew is an earl. And
Yeah.
I played with that a bit, but they're not like the mainstay turn up toff. So I
No,
wasn't
they're not.
exactly sold on that, and then I remembered that there's this article from September 2014. It's from the Daily Mail. It's called "The Turnip Toffs: Meet Kate and Will's New Neighbors, the party-loving Norfolk set with bigger homes than royals. And darling, everyone knows each other, sometimes extremely well," which is hinting at the fact that, like, a lot of these people have fucked. A lot of these
Yeah.
people have dated each other. There's a lot of Eskimo brothers. I'm sorry, there
And
are.
I feel like too, when we start on the Patreon diving into the women of Windsor, you will see they be fucking. Okay. Like, and not their husbands or their wives. Like this tracks. So it's a
It
lot to
is
think that sometimes they're gonna break that generational hobby,
it is everywhere. So
tradition.
I'm trying to scroll down. Of course, this article has like a million freaking ads and stuff, and it's like breaking my computer. So in this Daily Mail article, they go through the different toffs, and one of them is Viscount and the Queen of Gossip. It says the Earl and Countess of Romney's daughter, Lady Laura Marsham, married Prince's longstanding friend from Eton, James Mead. The Countess is known to s- is excuse me. The Countess is said to know all there is to be known about the county gossip. So here's what I'm thinking. Lady Laura Mead is the daughter of an earl. I'm assuming when they say countess, they mean Laura's mother. So, is there a possibility that the mother gave the good goss to Lady Laura, who let it slip to Tom Sykes? That's what I think it is. Tom Sykes got this from a daughter of an earl, and if what all he is saying is correct, and if the daughter of an earl's mother is apparently the county gossip, perhaps.
I think this is Law and Order. I think this is a Benson type of investigation,
Oh my god.
and I think the prosecution would take the case to trial.
Pum
Okay?
pum, na na
Boom,
na
boom.
na
And Tom
na.
Sykes said dinner parties, polo. This is where he's getting his sources. I mean, even Camila and Charles had a semi admit to this with the Mark Bolan thing when she just so casually told the wife, who husband is the CEO of a Murdoch media company, that she had met William. It's all just so happens over tea, right?
Always.
So we have a Tom Sykes article from May 26th. It's Are King Charles and Kate Middleton really at war over a flower show? While reports of Charles and Kate being at odds over appearances at the Chelsea Flower Show may be overblown, they signal two royal dangers: jealousy and rivalries between courts. As you guys remember, what I think was May 25th was the Chelsea Garden Show, the Chelsea Flower Show, and the day that Kate had shown up, it was a surprise appearance, as in it wasn't announced. And there was an announcement for the Chelsea Garden Show and what royals would be showing up, and everyone but Kate was named. And what was really interesting about it is KP. So this is like Kate and William's social media team, or Kate's social media team, or I'm sorry, I'm saying social media team, but Kate's comms team had told everyone this was a private visit. And private visit, usually in royal talk, is I'm going to go see this without the media. That's why we didn't tell you. So we'll release photos and any information from there. But the thing is, they did this on press day. And press day means literally the all of the press is invited to take photos, interview people, and do a bunch of write-ups about the Chelsea Garden Show to get people to go. So obviously, and this is really, really interesting. By Kate doing this, you can tell it did rub people the wrong way. And I'm not just talking about Charles and his court, but the media, because the Sunday Times, I don't have it up right now, but a photographer who was there, he wrote pretty much an entire account about his day there, about no one expecting anything, and then suddenly there being all this buzz, and then just kind of like chaos because no one knew Kate was coming. There was no staging. He kind of goes through how usually the royals are giving you information like this is where you're going to stand. You can stand here. This is how long you get with her. You two will get this angle. He said it was nothing. It was just chaos. So they weren't happy because the fact that an entire article got written about this photographer's point of view about the 15 minutes of chaos trying to capture Kate kind of shows you they were not happy. And then obviously Charles in little ways has been talking. So here's a little bit about it. He says, Charles is unlikely to be amused, a friend of the king's told the Daily Beast. Gardens are very much his thing, and given that it was always his mother's big pre-trooping the color day out. Does that sound weird?
I didn't know what that sentence
Yeah,
meant.
but it does say this. Let's read that again, guys. Gardens are very much his thing, and given that it was always his mother's big pre-trooping the color day out, it truly does say that, you guys, comma, I think he has a right to be annoyed. However, a friend of Kate's disagreed with that characterization, referring to a report in the Daily Mail which quoted a palace source as saying it was a shame that Charles and Camilla's visit received less coverage than might have been expected, and suggested they might be disappointed. The friend told the Daily Beast, and they're saying this is Kate's friend, supposedly, allegedly. It's pathetic. It's the media whipping up another feud. Kate has been going to Chelsea Flower's show with her family since before she was a royal, and she often used to go as well as the queen in recent years. It wasn't a secret that she was going. Asked if that meant the visits would have been actively coordinated between their offices, the friend said not, but added, William and Kate are now very senior figures, as the coronation made clear. Charles wouldn't have needed the Queen's permission to attend the Chelsea Flower Show, and Kate doesn't need Charles' permission to go to the Chelsea Flower Show. It's a massive storm in a teacup. Charles couldn't care less.
It's giving, I'm the eldest boy. It's
Yes, I was about to say, first off, I'm getting flashbacks to Spare of William supposedly being like, Africa is mine. That's my
oh my
thing.
god.
And then, I mean, quick Jordanian royal wedding of William telling Kate to wrap it up. Eerily, the similarities are happening. And I know good old Lee Thomas, their new communications guy, who was the ex VP for NBC Global's communication. First off, I think this is really key of Kate's public persona when it comes to her battling it out with the other royals. Kate can never actively be involved in drama, ever. You saw that with Meghan and the Kate Cry story. That article came out in like November 26th of 2018. And then I think like less than 2 weeks later, December 8th, 2018, it's Emily Andrews for The Sun who gets it wasn't Battle of the Brothers, but something brothers something, they're fighting pretty much. And what I always found interesting about that article, they completely like removed Kate from it.
And now for the main event. Alex, take it away with your thoughts and your research on Miss Kate Middleton, the Princess of Wales.
Now, there's a lot to cover about Kate, and we've talked about the different ways too. So I can't break it down as an overall. This is a focus on Kate and how she has used her platform for white feminism.
Oh,
And I think selling traditional family values that are often rooted in very toxic and misogynistic things, but it's the repackaging of it as something wholesome and fun and sweet, which I've said before, Queen Elizabeth is the one of the OGs of letting her femininity be a tool for white supremacy. And it's very interesting to see how Kate has picked that up. And I will say this now, I come from a place from understanding the fact that when Kate started dating William and got all of this fame because of that, she was a very young girl. And I know for a fact if I met a prince, okay, at 20 something years old, and I wanted my forever to be with him, and he was my first love or whatever, I would do anything I could to please him and his family, which would be being what they needed me to be. So I actually wanted to throw it back immediately to a 2011 quote from Vanity Fair by Katie Nicole, who covered a lot of William and Kate in the early days. And it says, as Princess Diana's former private secretary, Patrick Jepson, noted, we know very little about her and probably never will, providing they do their job right. Historically, a degree of mystery about royalty has been an advantage. We project onto them what we want. So, on that note, we'll be discussing the curious case of Kate Middleton and white feminism.
Ooh, ooh, that title. That title. I just had to fan myself like an old lady in church. Oh my gosh. I am so excited to get into this. I know I'm going to learn so much. I know like somewhat about Kate, but I actually think there is an entire person underneath her that I don't know if we really know. So I can't wait for you to get into it. You go.
And I think what's really interesting about Kate, when I talk about her as Serena Joy, I mean very much, I think the reason
From The
why,
Handmaid's Tale, right?
yes, from The
Handmaid's Tale?
Handmaid's Tale, that you get, people say that sometimes is mostly because of the physical aspect. She is a beautiful, conventionally attractive, skinny white woman. She wears clothing that's conservative, but still like beautiful and shows off her figure because, hey, when you're a size zero, everything looks good on you, right?
That's right.
So, and in that way, her beauty could just soften up the edge of conservative politics. I think we've seen that recently with many like Melania Trump.
Melania, I again, Melanie is her alter ego. She works at Denny's. She has 2 kids. She's going through a second divorce. It's a hard time.
It's a very hard time. And then you have, the DeSantos, his wife is absolutely softening up his image with her glamour. I even think of like Jackie Kennedy. So much of her time with her husband when her husband was alive, her image is just her beauty and her clothes. And I think that's Kate in many ways. Her beauty and her clothes is so much of the first like good 6 to 7 years of her relationship with William and being a working royal or part-time royal. But I think when you really back it up, it's to me how consistently from 2011 to like 2023, her supposed alleged sources and friends that have talked for her always really capture, I think, one of the very fundamental aspects of Kate's PR, which is that she's not like other girls. She's not like other
Mhm.
girls. Like, she doesn't know she's pretty. She has no idea. She's shy and she's insecure. And, she would never ever say she's beautiful because she's not like other girls. She's not that type
She's
of
not a
girl.
regular mom, she's a cool mom.
Exactly. And you see this in this. Actually, Meredith, I would love for you to read this for me. A 2010 Vanity Fair article by, again, Katie Nicole.
Sure. Okay, so this is what it says. Quote, according to one of her friends at St. Andrews, she remained level-headed and kept her feet on the ground during the early months of their courtship. She never got above her station. And even though she had secured the most sought-after boy at St. Andrews, she never gloated. She was actually quite insecure about her looks and never considered herself pretty. She was very sweet and very shy. End quote.
Okay. And then I think this is interesting. It's obviously a little bit different, but this is 2022, a Rebecca English quote that she did for Kate's 40th birthday, where she got access to people on the record and off the record that either worked for Kate in the past or were her friends. And one of the quotes, this is supposedly a friend, is saying, heads together, the mental health campaign fronted by William, Harry, and Kate was her idea. Not that she would ever be so self absorbed as to tell you that, another friend says. So you see how even like 10 years later, it's just this kind of vibe of she's not like other girls. She's never self-obsessed. you know?
The similarities are really jarring now that you show those 2 quotes, especially the above her station in 2011 or 2010 feels very that's some classism right there though
Classism.
too.
And the funny thing, it makes me think of a Charles quote. I can't remember exactly when or how it came out. I think he definitely didn't want people to hear, but he had made a comment about how he doesn't like when people get above their station. And every time I
Oh.
read that quote, I think about Charles' quote. And again, what would you be doing if you were a 24-year-old woman? You are middle class, you're not aristo, which means you're kind of shit to them. You're new money. Who cares about that? That's cheap. That's tacky. You're going to do what they tell you to do. And if you're shy, and I truly believe that Kate is shy, I truly believe that public speaking makes her very flustered and anxious. So I don't think any of that is made up, but I think that is something that she and the institution knew would be a very valuable tool for them. Because if she can stay silent and just be beautiful, she can soften a lot of their edge, you know?
And I think that's a big reason why we see a lot of them wanting a young woman to marry in. And I get it from like a fertility standpoint and stuff, but also I think you can get women before they really have gotten maybe a sense of their own identity and they're more like malleable. That's Diana,
Yes.
19. That's Kate in her early 20s. Yes, they didn't get married till late 20s, but they got her young. And I think that makes a really big difference because I don't know about you, but me at 21, you know what I mean?
Exactly, and that's probably trouble with Megan, is she was a full-grown woman who had held her own life, so she just even when she was trying, it was never gonna be like a 20-year-old, 24-year-old girl who's in love and wide-eyed and just desperately wants to fit in. There's a difference in that, even when you are trying to do that at 34. You're gonna have more boundaries and you're gonna set them more quickly, and again, I also say this too, that is not to take away agency from Kate, because that is something that drives me crazy when people discuss Kate and the things that are going on, and especially that have happened in like the last 5 to 6 years with Megan. Because while I do think she fell victim to this, again, she's the Rachel Berry of the royal family. You can be a victim and you can still be a bully, okay? And the same things that victimized her, we have seen used against other women. And frankly, from the very beginning, like, because like there's this quote from 2012. So this is 2012, only what, like a year after they got married. It's from Newsweek by Victoria Mather. She says, we know that she has a fabulous figure, but not how fabulous until she alighted in Hollywood and made Nicole Kidman look fat. We know that we are supposed to call her Catherine, but to us, she's still Kate. Again, in the same article, it is principally for these two reasons that Catherine Cambridge has perfect survival tactics of first, the cloak of invisibility, and second, not being Diana. 2014, this is Camila Tomney. You have intelligent, quick witted, self deprecating, attentive, and compassionate. Kate's USP is her likability, a rare commodity not often found in a beautiful woman in the public eye. She has every reason to be a show off, and yet she isn't one, the perfect female role model in the self obsessed celebrity era. So again, this pattern, and I'm not saying that obviously Kate was like telling Victoria, yeah, write that, write that. But I think it's like one of those things, say us, if we started attracting a bunch of hateful stands, whether it's Kate or Megan fans, we would probably sit back and say, hey, maybe we're not doing something right if these are the people we're attracting with our message. So for Kate, it's like, honey, this has been happening for years. And at some point you have to have some agency of saying, hey, my public persona for some reason caused a lot of this, And it doesn't stop. We can go to 2023 for a lot of her, literally her 40th birthday press. Every single article, including the one with Rebecca English, we know people talk to. There was one for the Sunday Times. I'm forgetting who wrote it. But again, allegedly people talked, and I think they absolutely did. It's a lot of comparisons. Obviously,
Yeah, I think
thankfully,
that's
to.
also oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go.
I'm thinking too that's also it's also playing into the trope that the media has that the only thing women are ever doing in life is trying to one up each other, and that if
Yes.
they're not against each other or doing something to slight another woman, they aren't worth anything, and that's the only thing that they have on their minds, which is actually just super misogynistic to everyone involved.
Exactly. And It yeah, it's sad because so, like, yes, the media is doing this, let's fuel some drama, especially between females, and Kate, unfortunately, is a really good weapon against other females, who is, again, beautiful, thin, white, cis female, and who doesn't talk a lot, but when she presents herself, it's so soft, so beautiful, it's confident, but not too confident, you know what I mean? Like, Kate is the perfect person, she knows how to be something, but not to something, which is so much of what misogyny is trying to guide us and police us by. And what I found really interesting as you saying about the drama thing is Kate is so good for starting or her image for comparing to other women, which is starting feuds and drama, but she's never actually a part of it. It's like they always make sure though to let you know Kate doesn't care about this stuff too, though. She's too good for that. She's not dramatic. She doesn't get in drama unless she's supporting her husband and being a peacekeeper. So one of the vital things too, I think for Kate and the reason why she's being she's so powerful to use for feuds or for whatever else you need to project, like that, article said in 2011. If you can project onto a royal, it's a very good thing. Queen Elizabeth, projection all over her. And with Kate, her only voice is usually her clothes. And obviously, that's a complicated thing because fashion is amazing and fashion is beautiful. And I think, especially for females and people who, identify as female, that, we love it. You can express yourselves with it in ways that we're not
Fashion
allowed
is
to.
political.
Exactly. But at the same way, it's kind of like we talked about with like the Botox and cosmetic surgeries. We still can't deny that there's an element of misogyny there. And you having to dress a certain way to either dodge a narrative or try to lean into one. And I think what's really interesting for Kate, where for so long, her only voice was something that was nonverbal, and for being her clothing is so surface level, which is weird to say because I feel like after 10 years of Kate, you think she's like one of the best diplomatic dressers ever. And part of that is because she's very savvy with her messaging and that she says a lot with her messaging. And hey, maybe that's my own assumptions and that's my own fault. But when you look at her fashion, the message is surface level. So for someone who doesn't really have a voice, for their nonverbal voice to be so surface level, again, I think of like the Serena Joy stuff, and I think about how first ladies, especially for conservative politicians, are used to soften up whatever their husband is saying that is very dangerous and violent. It's, hey, we're going to Singapore, so I'm going to wear the national flower. You know what I mean? And this is when I do like, and I will always credit, it's wearing local fashion, which is great. That is great. But I think it's like when a lot of your dressing is like for slideshow dressing. Shout out to Elizabeth Holmes for, that very catchy phrase, is the main part of your diplomatic fashion. And you're not really saying anything besides that. It's just kind of like only a beautiful, skinny white woman could get away with this, to give so little and get such a response back, which is also, again, savvy and smart. Kate gives so little for so long. So when she finally has started to give us stuff in the last 6 years, which is something as exciting as wearing colored nail polish or playing the piano, which are
Revolutionary.
exactly. And again, it's like, I can sit here and I can criticize, which I will, but at the same time, I gotta respect that, because she's like, yeah, I can literally feed you crumbs and you're gonna thank me. You're gonna thank me and praise me. And I'm like, yes, I will. Yes, I will.
You know what I also just thought of? I thought of the fact too that I think the media has seen what has happened with like really villainizing Charles and Camilla back in the day and how they are deeply unpopular now, and realizing that
Yes.
the continuation of the monarchy is also going to help their bottom line. And I think part of it is they can't really throw Kate under the bus,
Never.
because I thought about it and I'm like, if Megan, I hate to use Megan, but it's like the most current
Exactly.
one.
She's the
But
most relevant besides Kate.
yeah, but if Megan was to just, like, not talk or do anything, I feel like that all the articles would be like, "Megan slouching on the job, like, the American can't cut it," etcetera. But
Yes.
when Kate doesn't, it's defined, it's regal, she doesn't
Hmm.
have to say a lot. Like, it's turned into a positive, and every once in a while, a journalist will be like, "Kate, we want your voice more, we need your voice," and all the articles that are like, "Kate is finally stepping into her role," and it's like, "It's been 12 years."
It's
Like,
been 12 years,
please.
and that's my thing, is, like, I mean, I've literally had to put a disclaimer about my dyslexia and how my brain works and why I mess things up. So, when Kate speaks and does a speech, it's like that TikTok sound. You're like, "Clap, clap." Like, that's me because I'm like, I understand. Like, I would be so anxious, like, clap for her. I can't imagine. But it's like, "Boo boo, it's been 12 years though." And I know most people wouldn't get that exception, let alone someone like Megan who's biracial. They would like when people are like, if they just like would have just hung back like William and Kate did and not done anything for a while, everything would have been fine. Absolutely not. William and Kate ended up getting crap for that at least 3 years into that. And honestly, for good reason at that point. So can you imagine if a black woman was to be able to have all this tax funded property and luxury vacations and not actually be working? Yeah, right. Yeah, right. you
Yeah.
know,
No, I agree.
because like again, it's never that like Kate doesn't get criticized throughout these years. What I think is interesting, say again, comparison to Megan or even Diana, a lot of the criticisms aren't on what she says because she's not saying much. So a lot of it is
Yes.
again surface level criticism. So there's this one article in the Daily Mail, I think is about time Kate cuts that hair. It's just getting in the way everywhere. Exactly. It's just very like cringy, dumb stuff like that. A lot about her hemlines, way the damn hemlines. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. But they're never criticizing who she is or her morals or anything like that. Because beyond knowing that she's kind, that she loves children, it's like, how can you really say anything about her morals? Because you don't know much else than that. And how can you say she's bad for those two things? So it's so simple. And I think what's interesting about Kate's fashion, though, because when she does sometimes finally give us a message behind, hey, like tartan for Scotland and stuff like that. And again, I do want to say, I'm not saying these things are bad. I get the point of them. Michelle Obama would do the same little things. It's those little things do count and they do matter. But I will also say, recognize the fact that Kate didn't start really taking time to do like local small business fashion, woman owned, eco friendly until Megan came into the picture.
Yeah, I just wanna jump in quickly and say, to your point, because this is gonna come up in our Megan episode too. We wouldn't be doing these topics justice if we were fully stans or fully vilifying,
Mhm.
and I think part of the problem with the discourse right now, especially online, is how polarizing it is, and I will argue that putting someone on a pedestal where they cannot make mistakes is just as
Yes,
dehumanizing as completely vilifying them, making them a cartoon evil villain character, that they can't both are projecting onto a
exactly.
person that's not real. So I think with what you're saying, like we are talking critically about what these people do because that's good conversation. You know what I mean? And we're
Exactly.
going to do this with Megan too. So just like
Exactly. Yes.
buckle up.
And I think it's interesting on that note because talking about her fashion, again, softening so much of what's going on, which honestly is what a lot of royals do in general. Like part of being the diplomat to go to is because they can chop you up and or chop it up to make sure you're going to get like a good 30-minute segment on like a morning show or the evening news. And it's not going to go anything past, oh, they look beautiful. They met. There's some great pictures. It was fun. Someone gave her a gift and the Queen Elizabeth laughed. And then, just for a fleeting moment, people are going to be invested and they're going to move on. And frankly, I do think at the core, that's what a lot of royals want. So, and with Kate with her fashion, there's actually a really interesting quote, from Succession, because I'm sorry, Kate is shit. Like I said, Serena Joy may be her, like physically what she's used for, but on the inside, Kate is smart. You can't tell me because Serena Joy thought she could be that bitch, even though she fed into, this horrible thing. She never thought they'd be burning her books. They thought they would let her be a leader. No, Shiv is smart. She knows damn well they're never going to let her be that bitch. They're never going to let her be that man. So she's going to tie herself to the person who can be that man and control him. And I'm just saying, I'm
Oh my
just
god,
saying.
you just blew my mind because at first I was like, I don't know if I oh my god.
Kate
No,
is
you're
a smart
totally
woman, okay? She didn't start just wearing
yeah.
pantsuits, but she's Shiv in a floral dress with a beautiful blowout, okay? And I think she's been that since probably about 2016, 2015. There's a quote in Succession. It says, the acceptable face of the worst family in America, talking about Shiv. That's Kate for the British royal family. In 2011, we have a riot. It's the London riots. What are like the longest I think I don't know what the recent actually Black Lives Matter protests. So what happens is there was an unarmed black man. Mark Duggan, he was 29 years old. He was shot by the police. I think they said, gosh, like 7 times or so by, I think, 4 police officers. He was shot down dead. And they said at first it was because he had a gun and he was armed. Now, for a week went by and they weren't really communicating with the family. They were communicating with the news, giving back and forth information, saying he was armed, we thought he was armed, that back and forth. We ended up actually finding out in 2014 that he was not armed at all. He had actually did have a gun, but he had threw it out of the taxi before the police got to him. Then the police stopped him. I think 5 minutes later, they tell him to get out of the car. He gets out of the car and they immediately start shooting. So it's one of those things. So the protesting didn't happen until about 5 days afterwards because the family and I group, I think about 40 or 50 people ended up marching to the police station because they weren't getting any information. and they were frustrated. I did read an article where one of the people that were there said they did try to like call the police station beforehand to let them know they were going to have this, and they were trying to amplify their voices and so on. They go there, the police are out. I'm pretty sure they said they already had the riot gear on. It was already tension. They're there for about an hour. A teenager and a cop start getting into it. There's pushing, there's shoving, and then the violence begins. And that goes for 7 days. There was looting, small businesses lost a lot of things. And in one particular community, which is a Southeast Asian community and a lot of like Afro Caribbean, unfortunately, on one of the days, 3 men were ran over. And that caused, obviously, just a lot of turmoil. It was really sad. So there was a lot going on. So a week after the riots is when we get a visit on August 19th from William and Kate. And they go up to Birmingham in the West Midlands. Or no, it occurred a few days after the rioting occurred in the city. And so I'm just going to talk a little bit about the engagement before we kind of go into the close and then talk about what this all means. So for this engagement, they went and they visited communities that were affected by it, business owners who had their stores looted, talked to them, comforted them. And then they did privately meet with the families who had lost, because out of the 3 people that died, 2 of them were actually siblings or brothers, and one was like another, I think, young cousin or something. So they met with the
Jeez.
families. It was really heartbreaking. It was a lot. It was a lot. And they met with first responders. So this is great, right? Kate shows up in this, and I will, of course, post a photo, and an Alexandra McQueen pre-autumn 2011 collection. She chose, and this is from Kate Middleton Style. Kate chose a military style skirt and blouse by Alexandra McQueen. The skirt and blouse are called, or here's a quote from Netport when talking about Net-a-Port when talking about the description for the outfit, the blouse in particular. Alexandra McQueen's military-inspired silk georgette blouse exudes signature sophistication. And then it goes on to describe it. So what I'm getting at is that Kate showed up after violent riots and military-inspired clothing. And for
Oh my
me,
god.
yes, it's giving Law and Order. And I think if anyone has been paying attention to since what happened with the Black Lives Matter protest, that giving Law and Order when stuff like that is going on is not what needs to be happening. That just causes more tension. It causes
She
more
might have just
issues.
worn she should have just worn a Blue Lives Matter shirt at this point.
Literally. And my
Sorry.
thing is, I understand why they visited the victims of the looting and the rioting, and of course the families who lost their children. But what agitates me specifically is this first responder portion, because that's obviously the police. They never, of course, once met with people who were peacefully protesting. They never met with the Duggar family. They never gave any voice to that. And when you choose to only concentrate on the looting and the violence and not talk about why that is happening, happening about like the root of this particular riot slash protest, and ignoring the fact that it was a peaceful protest and there was many people who were protesting that were also trying to stop the violence. Come on now. It's giving Fox News. It's giving I say Black Lives Matter, you say all lives matter. Like it's hurtful. It's so bad. It's so bad. And mind you, it's not like in 2011 I saw this and was like, "Oh my gosh, that's horrible." I was like, "Oh my gosh, she looks so good. She looks so beautiful." Like Diana, you know what I mean? Like
No, definitely, because we've changed. I mean, we have changed
exactly.
in what's acceptable, and so obviously looking back at this, you're like, "Yikes."
Yes.
But also, I think part of it too is, I mean, the royal family security, they have security through the Met, so who are they
Yeah.
aligned with? And
William's a
it's really like,
Patreon. He's like their
are
Patreon for the Met Police.
the
So
patron?
patron,
Did you
thank
just
you.
Patreon? Yeah, Prince William
Patreon,
has
by the
joined our
way.
Patreon.
We have a
Shout
Patreon, by the
out, go
way.
look us up, patreon.com, Lady Audaci-TEA.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm sorry, continue.
Yeah, so it's very disturbing. It's very ignorant. And again, it's not shocking. This is a royal family. And I will say too, this is not shocking for Kate. Let's remove being in the royal family. I don't think this would be shocking for Kate either, because then and now, Kate has never uttered the word racism. I don't even think when William was, talking about LGBTQ rights and accepting gay people, I don't think once Kate ever joined that to verbally say, I support gay people too. We just know, obviously, because I mean, Kate's a good person. Why would she not like gay people? And I mean that genuinely. But I am talking about the fact that I think, again, this plays into why her public persona, and in why many ways it's smart, but it's so much based on white feminism and misogyny, because she would never vocalize something that can be deemed controversial.
It's a vanilla ice cream. It's vanilla ice
Yes.
cream. It's okay, but it's not going to offend anyone.
Exactly. Her outfits, her fashion, it's easily digestible. It's good for that 30-minute segment. She looks beautiful. Those heels look great. Maybe a debate on if she should be wearing heels when she's pregnant. It's not supposed to be that deep. And I get that because I think all of us like to just be able to go someplace where it's not that deep. You know what I mean? But it's the fact that it's always like that. And then when you get to some actual messaging, it's this. It's also trying to toxic positivity a riot and not talk about what really happened. And I will say before we get to a part that also makes me cringe about this, I will give like little breadcrumbs of kudos here because I will say one thing. When this all happened, because those three men that were murdered were Indian, Southeast Asian, and the people behind the wheel were Afro Caribbean. That's also what they're referred to in the UK media. So I'm guessing that's a distinction. That's a part of their culture. So that's why I'm saying that in particular, not just Black.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it caused racial tension, obviously. They, Southeast Asian were saying like they need to be arrested. One article I was reading how an African woman was arguing with another like Southeast Asian man about it all. And what I saw looking up their visit is there's a lot of photos of Kate smiling with Black people and Southeast Asian people. And I think that's really important because imagery is everything. And I think the
Yes.
beautiful, white, delicate Kate being seen with Black people and being seen with Southeast Asian people can just kind of help, like, everyone's okay. Everyone's good.
Yep.
Everyone was hurt. So I will give breadcrumbs there. But then I kind of take it right back because there's actually this portion of the engagement that Rebecca, this is from the Rebecca English article for the Daily Mail covering it. And Meredith, will you read to me this little scene she describes for us? This is her
Let's
words
get into
describing it,
it.
okay?
Let's get into it. So this is talking about William, when I say he. So it says, quote, he then cheekily asked Mr. Bahata who he supported in the cricket, India or England. Kate hit him on the shoulder and said, William, that's naughty. That's naughty. Sorry, I had to ask, the prince said. The controversial cricket test was coined by former Tory minister Norman Tebbit, who suggested that immigrants should root for England, not their original nation. Mr. Bahata diplomatically said he was proud of the way both sides played, but made clear that he hoped India would bounce back in the one-day games. Good God.
When the fact even
Stop
Rebecca
it.
English is kind of like diplomat, like kind of like, ooh. And mind you, it's in the paragraph before when they're talking about this man, they do talk about how he just got his citizenship. So he is a recent immigrant. So it adds the levels of like, again, ignorance. They went to the best schools, but somehow this man does not know not to say that. But again, when she finally has a message, I think beyond the color coordinating and, tartan for Scotland, you have things like the Me Too for the BAFTAs, which I find really
Oh,
interesting because,
yeah.
BAFTAs, this was 2007, no, 2018.
I
Two
believe you. I don't
Yes,
know.
we're
I don't
gonna
know
go
the
with
date.
2018, 2017. But for the BAFTAs, obviously William was president. For a lot of years, they did not go, and there was a lot of complaints. So they finally started going consistently, I would say, in about 2016, when they were getting a lot of criticism and just kind of mean press about them being lazy. So for that one, they were gonna say everyone's gonna wear black to support the Time's Up movement, which just quickly, briefly, I'm sure you guys know, but that was supporting victims that were talking about the sexual abuse and sexual assaults and so on that they experienced in Hollywood and the cover ups behind it. So William and Kate go, they walk this red carpet. Obviously, William's in a black tux with white. So he didn't follow it either. He wore what he normally does. But again, here's that kind of double-edged swords of fashion with females. We put a lot of responsibility on them, but the fact is that Kate knows about that responsibility. She's leaned into that responsibility. So she knew exactly what she was doing when she did not show up in black. She should
What
have
did she
been
wear?
a dark green, like off the shoulder Jenny Packham dress. Exactly. And that one really pissed me off too, because it played perfectly into it, or her fans could go, well, it's dark green. So, like, she can't be political and wear black, but she wore dark green. So she did what she could. So it's like Kate is somehow a victim of the system, even now, and it's like, no,
Also,
she's
the idea
not.
that black is for mourning. I feel like that's another angle they
Yes.
would use.
It's
Well,
all this
it's
little
royal
trickery.
protocol.
Yes. It's
Oh,
like,
that is just lame.
agency, give her agency. And second of all, it's also politicizing two things like the Me Too movement for me, which you saw a lot with the Black Lives Matter movement, in general, and especially with why the royals supposedly really couldn't talk about it, is they try to politicize. That's too political. She can't say that. No, she can't. Because that right there is key diplomatic dressing. There are sexual abuse survivors, and you want to pay respects to them and say, I stand by you. So instead of Kate doing that, again, I'm just supposed to assume because she's a good person and she loves children that, of course, she, supports sexual abuse survivors. But I think anyone who's lived in the real world for, I don't know, 10 years knows that kind people can not have great morals sometimes.
It's the lowest bar to clear. It's just the
Lowest.
lowest bar to clear.
And then the next day there was some sort of, I don't know, gathering for meeting people, whatever, at Buckingham Palace. And she shows up in a black and white dress. And everyone's like, this is her making up for it. And I'm like, again, the messaging. I'm never going to have a clear stance. I'm never going to show you I have a clear stance, even through my clothing. You're just going to sit here and assume because I don't fully ever have a clear message other than the be kind, take care of your mental health, love your children. And it just, and I think that's too why sometimes I can get a bit prickly when people are like, she's the queen of diplomatic dressing. She's the queen of recycling. I'm like, she's truly not. Again, you guys give Kate so much when she gives you crumbs. And again, I can get it from a fan point, but then you get to a point where this is just like white feminism. This is a white woman being able to do very little and get just so much. And again, we know, especially a biracial woman of color in that situation would not get any of this. I mean, Meg
Yeah.
ended up getting like crucified for talking about it like a month later during their
The
royal
Fab Four.
foundation. Yeah, the Fab Four summit. That was really fun and awkward.
I'm new Carl. I'm 2.0 Carl.
Right. So, and when talking about that too, about how I think so much of what Kate's fashion and just in general what her public persona is about, even, in this recent transition to having more of a voice, which is really interesting, and being more girl boss. It's kind of, she went from being like, I like to do what my husband does. Like, and you see that okay, so here's this like 2012 article, or not article, it was the announcement of Kate's patrons. So in the announcement, and this is from the St. James Palace, because at the time that's where everyone was located, it says the Duchess's new roles reflect Her Royal Highness's wish to support the royal family's work in highlighting important causes in the charitable and voluntary sector and arts. St. James Palace said, the Duchess has chosen to support organizations that complement the charitable work already undertaken by her husband. So, it makes sense, but it's interesting. So much of her early identity is connected to William. And even now that it's not as much, like, I don't think Kate would ever say that in a recent statement. I think it would be, my husband also cherishes these commitments to and is supporting me as I go out on this adventure. But it would never be, I'm doing this because he does it pretty much. She has more agency now, but it's still so much of William taught her this, though. He taught her to be like this. And you see that again in the 40th press. William taught her to do this, and now she calms him down. She leads him. So I kind of wanted, like, as the girlies would say, let's talk about the husband.
Oh, okay, let's talk
Let's
about
talk
the
about the
husband. You
husband.
leave Harry Hamlin's name out of your mouth.
Which honestly, that would be Kate. Like, she can fuck with her man, but you're gonna expose his secrets? Oh, that glass would have been broken sooner than Lisa broke. Okay. Now, since we're talking about the husband, obviously, let's talk Gone Girl with this quote. Cool girls are above all hot and understanding. Cool girls never get angry. They only smile in a chagrined, loving manner and let their man do whatever they want. Go ahead, shit on me. I don't mind. I'm the cool girl.
Oh god, that is chilling. Some Gillian Flynn
Okay.
chillingness.
My girl Kate, the call's coming from inside the house. Get out. Maybe from your mama's house too. But and I think this is really interesting because again, we didn't get into this because we already promised ourselves when the next Crown season comes out, we're going to get into William and Kate's, beginning era. And we're very interested to see what version they give us. But it was very clear, again, Kate Nicole, Vanity Fair, 2010, 2011. If you guys want to do some reading, we will link them. Very much describes a girl who's doing all she can to keep this man. Every time he dumps her to go gallivant with his exes or a new girl that's slightly showing interest that he kind of always wanted. It's really sad. And unfortunately, I think through the years it's stuck. But I do think Kate knows the game that she's in. if it is all true, if it is all true that they're not in this beautiful, loving, committed relationship. If that is true. That's what I'm saying that on that basis, you know? But and I think this is really interesting because you see that a lot in even just like the early years again to now is how secretly she's the backbone of it all. You have this quote actually from Camila, or I should
You're
say
close. Just call her Cams, baby. Just call her
Cams,
Cams.
our girl Cams. And it's interesting because this Tomney article from 2014 for the Daily Mail, it is Tomney talking about the criticism and even leaning into it, saying, like, yeah, I see you, but in a lot of ways, she's defending it. It's like they will get on Kate for wearing less of, Zara and doing more high street fashion and designer and doing luxury vacations instead of volunteering in Chile because they want her to be like their girl's girl. But when someone's like, hey, she should work more and speak more and have more of a platform, it's like, hold on, guys, hold on. Okay. And here you see it. The real reason we need to hear from Kate, though, is because it is she who is undoubtedly the power behind the future throne, not the Catherine once dubbed Weighty Katie. Just as one gets the sense that it is Carol with an E who wears the trousers in the Middleton marriage. When it comes to Kate, the apple does not fall far from the tree. What other kind of woman could possibly get a future king crawling back to her with his tail between his legs within 3 months? Moreover, as the Sunday Express reported last week, Kate has succeeded in making William a better man, mature, mellow, and magisterial. And the same effect fellow commoner Camilla has had on Charles. That's Tomney from 2014.
That is very interesting for so many reasons. Again, this
Right?
idea that she makes William a better man, that he is someone that needs correcting. It's almost like they're trying to course correct before we see more of William, which I think we started seeing or hearing allegedly more of. And has she really calmed him down, is my
Has
question.
she
And why
really
is that
calmed?
her job to parent a man? That is not her job.
I mean, and we're seeing this so much in her 40th birthday coverage once again. Sadly, it's so much of, wow, she calms him down because, of course, we've had this huge feud. And in that, we place them more in these kind of traditional ideas of the male is the alpha and he's so protective of her and he's so angry if anything says any slightly mean to her. And then, like, Kate just like blows in all soft and effortless and she's like, honey, it's okay, my alpha. It's okay. Calm down. And then he's like, I'm calm. Like, it's just like really bad what pattern variation sometimes.
Women
Like,
are responsible for men's emotions and regulating them, and it's such a toxic thing that we subscribe to,
because
and it's
like,
not true.
and my thing is like people always say like if Kate left William, like she'd be totally fine on her own. And sometimes I don't know because I'm like, you guys, misogyny though. And yes, Kate has played white feminism as a weapon so well, but the thing is, even white feminism, even if the success rate for white females and only white females can somewhat be high, they're always going to fall because misogyny is always going to find an issue with you.
So, Rebecca Traister in her book Good and Mad kind of wrote about that, the idea that women will vote in America, Republican because they feel like they're protected by the umbrella of being
Hmm.
patriarchy adjacent, but the second their rights or anything that is important to them is on the chopping block, then suddenly that umbrella is pulled.
Yes. And I think honestly, sadly, Megan came in at a great time because these tools of being silent and being beautiful and staying skinny and slim, and the moment the gray hair showed up and there was like a plate, she stripped them out of her hair, she got Botox. It wasn't enough because they wanted
Allegedly.
allegedly, yes, allegedly, because they wanted her to have a voice. And yes, besides her issues with public speaking, I think Kate, not just the family, and I mean honestly, Queen Elizabeth, let's be real, but which especially know this, knew that she still somewhat needed to be silent. Like we really have to wait on giving her a personality. And obviously, I think always when they became full-time working royals that Kate was going to have to show more because it's really interesting, like when you get to Heads Together, that was made in 2016. And I very much think that was a response for Harry too, because Harry was also getting those kind of lazy talk too of those lazy rumors. Like, see, we're finally doing something, damn it. And it was great PR for them. Like, it was a great PR blitz for them. And it also, of course, actually did have a real effect. I mean, you can't doubt that they helped spread a message and really get awareness out there. But what I find so interesting is like We find out finally in March 2017, or no, we finally found out in 2017 she had the idea, and of course by William, because she would never gloat. She would never, give herself props for her own work. But that's also the first time that Kate like ever spoke. And I bring this up because I can't help but yes think when Kate finally started speaking more for Heads Together and started finally getting us personal anecdotes. And I find this really interesting because there's this Rebecca Starr Brown. This is an article from 2017. And I think it just showcases how little we got from Kate then.
Kate has been less forthcoming, and that's a shame. She has dropped anecdotes here and there about her children. Earlier this month at the Anna Freud Center, she acknowledged that parenting is tough, and there have been flashes of a Kate with a bit more color. Her famous facial expressions, for one, the way that she occasionally interacts with her husband, the steely way she handled herself during the girlfriend years.
And this is what I mean. It's just something as simple as her saying parenting is tough. And people are like, oh my God, she's opening up to us, you guys. And it's just like,
Oh my God,
damn,
Kate Middleton is
girl.
just like us.
I
She's just like
know.
us.
I'm like, they really had you in a cage. Like, it makes me want to re-listen to the what is the Baby and or Mommy and Me podcast she did, because I remember being like, this is great, but also you shared so little. Like, I thought she would have vibed a little bit more. But you look back just as 2017, Kate said parenting is tough. I'm finally seeing more personality. It's like that was so much personality for Kate. And they talk about that because even Tomney and this Rebecca Starr Brown girl had talked about, because during one of their tours, the press was kind of mad because they were saying like you could see, Catherine joking and having fun, and there was like certain photos of this, but they wouldn't let the UK press packet have them and publish them. But like
I
Australia was
think that
able
was the
to.
that was the Australia tour when Prince George was a baby. I hate
Yes.
that I know that.
Yes, well, that, and it's interesting because again, it shows like they wanted this though. They wouldn't let them post photos of her being more personal, like personable and just like charismatic. And it's so interesting, And yes, I think sure it's part of it is like William's protective and he wants to protect her, but it's so her public image is just so fine-tuned. And again, it's why she's been successful. Queen Elizabeth has been successful because we can project so much onto her.
It kinda makes you wonder, will we remember Kate for who she is or because of what we thought she was? And
Oh
is that
yeah.
potentially true for anyone in the spotlight like this, but particularly Kate?
Oh yeah, because I like Kate's a Slytherin. Like we're talking Harry Potter.
Oh,
My
shit.
girl's cunning.
Who
She can
just
be
put her in
manipulative.
Slytherin?
Okay, and I say that with respect because, like they said with Slytherin, like y'all just there's a few bad guys, and you gave all these people bad nights. Like, I'm sorry, Gryffindor. You can't tell me there is numerous bullies in Gryffindor. When I say like Harry and William are Gryffindor, I mean that then as in they're annoying and know-it-alls. Like they're the dumbasses who think they're heroes and are getting us all in trouble because they're like, let's
So,
run
like,
into the
Harry
dark.
Potter. Honestly, kind of Harry Potter.
Like
You know what I mean? Like, kind
literally,
of the
like let's
kind of
run
the
into
main
the dark,
character.
guys, where everyone's
And then
screaming and
Hermione
yelling.
is back there, like, the one smart bitch is like,
That's my
"Y'all are
Megan.
stupid. I have I have done my homework." Yeah,
Okay.
not the answer.
No, honestly, I think Megan's a little bit like Hufflepuff, but I also think she has Slytherin qualities too. 'Cause I
Oh, this
just
is okay, we might have to do an episode or
please.
a video that it just talks about where we think these people fall.
I This is like one of my favorite things to discuss because I'm sorry, my
This is
girls
great.
are Slytherin. I do think there's so many Slytherin qualities. They're my smart little bitches, okay? But
Okay.
yes, but Kate will never show you that because she knows you don't want that. And I know when she saw what happened to Megan, she was like, baby, I played it smart. Okay, baby, I played it smart. I let these people think I'm a dummy. I let these people think I'm just all big smiles and pretty clothes. And every now and again, I'm like, be nice to your children because it helps their mental health. Like,
Don't be mean to children.
like
Revolutionary parenting tips.
listening and learning for 10 years. Don't be mean.
I'm just
Go
listening and
outside.
learning.
And also,
Michelle Obama said go outside. She said
okay.
play for 30
And then she
minutes.
ruined lunchtime meals and gave you guys cheap granola that tasted like sandpaper.
She doesn't think french fries are a vegetable, bitch. I'm just kidding.
We hate her. We love Michelle Obama. I'm kidding. We're kidding.
We love Michelle Obama.
We love her. And yeah, so just like saying that, and I always like you can track Heads Together so well with that because it started in 2016 when Kate was still so quiet. And then you get up to 2018 and she's making more speeches and she's getting credited for what she did. Like, So there's this really interesting article for Heads Together, and it was actually from what I can see, this was the first time that Kate did like a solo engagement for Heads Together. And it was the day before like the London Marathon, which, Heads Together, like merch was everywhere. They had it on the post boxes, it was on everyone's little runner headband, the shirts. It was together. And so this Laura Burnett, a 2017 article, it's titled Touch of Class. Kate Middleton goes casual as she meets Heads Together London Marathon runners at Specialton Kensington Palace reception. And I just find interesting about this article because I can't even give you guys a good quote because there is none. It's like this woman just didn't
Oh.
talk the whole time. The entire article is about what she wore, where she walked. Most of it is photos, and the best thing about these photos, you have the big open mouth, "Wow!" You can just going, "Wow!" Then you have the serious hands, and then you have the one of her listening, and it's just her face looking very beautiful. And then you just have one of the very gentle smile, and then you have one of her around the post box office, like, or post the office box or whatever, like, wrapping around and, like, doing the smile with the guy, like they're sharing a joke, and it's just like, this woman, like, they
She's
are
basically
not
doing the
letting her
musical
speak.
theater thing when you're told on stage to, like, talk backstage, like, to make it look like you're talking without
It's
talking,
like
so
the
you say
music
peas and
video.
carrots.
Yeah, like when you're arguing, you have to be arguing in the music video, and they're just
Yeah.
silently like, "Yeah." Like, this is Kate. This is so much it's what she's doing until you finally get more. And just like, I don't know. I feel like Kate is definitely stuck in like 1990. And she's now 1989 Taylor Swift era. She will still never
Oh.
say feminism, though. We know she'll never say feminism. Like, I mean, I feel like we should take bets if she'll ever say the word racism. If she'll say homophobia. Like, and I will look this up and
I'm
to
not looking
confirm
to
it.
lose money. I'm
Okay.
not looking to lose money.
But, like, it's so wild to me because it heads together too. William opens up a lot or opening up for him and like, "You guys, I'm sad, like, I've had a hard day, can't, like, listen to tough calls," and Kate's like, "Wow, that's so crazy. They were so sad when they called in, and then they weren't when they were done with the phone call." You guys, this is literally almost an exact quote from an engagement they did for Heads Together at, like, some tele-center thing. It's just so surface level. And I think especially now in 2023, when so much we hear about Kate has been listening and learning behind the scenes for so long, it's kind of wild because while I do think a lot of that is true, I just will never understand why they haven't taught her how to communicate that to us in easily digestible ways, like she's so been able to do with her clothing. So in the end, too, what I'm saying here is Kate has agency. We can recognize that she was bullied by the system, and we now recognize that she very quickly, though, learned to use it as a tool. That, like Shiv, except she's a much softer image of that, and because she's skinny and she's beautiful, she's not trying to fight the patriarchy, and it's not even that she's not trying to fight it, it's that she loves it. I think Kate truly loves the patriarchy, and think she
Well, she's fighting to uphold it, and that's, like, matter of fact said, like, Queen Elizabeth was not a feminist icon, sorry, not sorry.
no.
They are working to uphold the
She was
patriarchy, they're not working to tear
anti-feminist.
it down.
Like, she
Yeah,
was
yeah.
totally
Having a woman
anti-feminist.
having a woman in power does not mean that things are changing for marginalized people or the groups that they represent.
At all, and I think Kate has shown us she does not care about being an ally to women of color unless they are going to do something for her, which
And I think it's
is
like, you know what? If that's how she's gonna act, like, fine. But I think the problem really is stop trying to make fetch happen. Stop trying to make it like she is something that she's not. Do you know what I mean? It's like she needs to be all the things and then you're nothing.
and that's the thing, she is literally all the things, and I think she likes that, though. I think it makes it easy for her. Like, I think it's so interesting that and mind you, we don't really truly know any of these royals,
No.
but Kate, we just really do not know. And thank goodness for Megan, and we know more about her hobbies and amazing artist that she is. I love when they post like her paintings and stuff like that. We know that she's pretty good at piano playing, and that's really cool, but never forget that these things happened off the back of a black woman who was like tormented for a lot of these little things. That her friends are carrying on this belief that like you need to not be like other girls. Like a good girl doesn't brag that, doesn't announce that she came up with an idea. Why would she do that? She's not self-absorbed.
She could have been an ally for Megan, and
Oh,
she intentionally chose not to. And that
yeah.
is I'm sorry, that is very telling of who Kate is.
Very
especially knowing
telling.
the environment that we were in post 2016.
And again, with the fashion stuff too, with that, I was actually reading an interesting article earlier about Queen Elizabeth when the Trumps came and everyone had talked about the brooches. And again, these are brooches. She's posing with them. The 90% of people are seeing photos of the royals and just presidents in general in these meetings. And it's just a passing glance. Oh, cool. They met him. Maybe you're going to look at that little paragraph in the corner saying where it happened. But for the people who investigate and dig a little more, and then you do get headlines and articles, they talk about how the brooch is like the first one she wore. The Obamas gave it to her. You know, the second one was like the Canadian one. And at that time, Trump was beefing with Canada on Twitter.
God,
Um,
when isn't he beefing with an entire country, to be honest?
exactly. And I forgot what the third one was, but it was something along that. And this article talks about like the way she can vaguely troll through her wardrobe because she can never verbally. And I can't help but think about Kate and the Megan, the Megan of it all now with her. Sometimes I absolutely think this is for her image and so on, and to modernize it because let's be real, if we look at our political system right now, it's very interesting seeing so many conservative women out there kind of also trying to dabble into being that modern with like the power suits and stuff and like girl boss, I'm strong, I can talk for myself, like, but also my husband's my number one. If he needs me home at 6 o'clock to cook dinner, I'm gonna be there at 6 o'clock to cook dinner, okay? Because my feminism is not about equality, it's just giving women more things to do. you know
Ooh,
like
ooh, put that on a damn bumper
like,
sticker.
damn, like, give me a pantsuit so I can now work, breastfeed, cook, baby my husband, baby the
She's Barbie,
kids.
she can be everything, she can work, she can care for her kids,
Yes!
she can get married to Ken,
And
she's
that's
everything.
and, like, I would love Megan to have the Greta makeover like Barbie has, you know what I mean? I would love for her not to be stuck in the 1980s Barbie that needed to be thin and had to mostly be white and had to be blonde and had to just try on all these outfits, but just as a very surface level one note. Of
Wait,
course
do you mean Kate? Because you said Megan. Did you mean Megan?
no, I meant Kate, I'm sorry.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I'm like, I don't think Megan's a I don't know if we're talking about the same person. It's okay. We're like over an hour at this point, so we're cracking up a little bit.
Yes, we're cracking up a little bit, but yeah, and I exactly, it's just sad because, again, I do want Kate to get that Greta Barbie makeover, but I don't think she ever will. I think she's always gonna be so focused on having the tiny waist, the tiny hips, being the perfect fashion girl and feeding
I
into
think she
this.
made a deal. I think she made a deal and she is in an agreement that she's gonna see out.
Oh, and
She's
you
just going
have
to
to.
see
I
out.
mean, she just
Yep.
supported the Sun's baby bank campaign. It's like she had to make a deal and she had to make those promises. And again, I feel bad for her, but I'm also like, you signed this deal because it's very obvious. And it was obvious for a while, but it's so kind of crazy what happens when you saw her up and unfortunately to say against another woman because we can blame the media for that, but you also need to blame Kate for that too.
Yeah. No, I
Like,
agree. I
it's
agree. There
just
were decisions that were
and
made.
it's almost so much like what we talk about with white feminism with, like, the Trump and stuff. It's like, you can put the pink pussy hat on and do the march, but it's like, are you gonna talk about the fact that your white sisterhood voted him in? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's just
Exactly.
like
Because that's what people bring up. People are like, "Oh, I didn't vote for him." I'm like, "It doesn't matter. A majority of white women did. We need to have a conversation about that and talk about that. There's a problem here."
exactly, and it's like Kate never directly said, like, "Fuck that bitch," but she said it so much through her actions and her microaggressions and the way that
She othered
she
her. She
oh,
othered her.
she othered her, and that's why I've always said all those people are messy and gross and dirty, but Kate, though, the way she was able to do this and come out so pure and clean to people. She's so pure and clean and beautiful and drama free. It genuinely just it ugh. It's just
Well,
like
it's all about popularity.
it's all
All
about
about popularity.
popularity.
Who's up, who's down. If one person's doing well, you're not, and that's why this family does not act
And
as a
she needed
sole
a
as a sole
comeback.
entity.
Exactly.
Yeah,
She needed a comeback really bad, and she was gonna have it no matter what, and I honestly think it was gonna be the York sisters for who she needed to be able to bounce off of in terms of, "I'm a
she
better
needed a
woman than
foil.
her," It was
Yeah.
Chelsea Davy at first. Again, these 2011 articles, like, I don't know how now there's a storyline that Chelsea and Kate were super close because it was always reported then, like, yeah,
Of
they
course
get
there
along
was,
and party sometimes, but
but
no.
remember, Kate was fine with all the girlfriends until the mixed
Megan
race.
came along.
Exactly, she was fine with everyone else.
And the funny thing is, when they talk about Chelsea and Kate, they're saying one of their first disputes is that Kate wanted to go shopping with her, and Chelsea was like, I'm good. We've got different styles. I'm good. Chelsea definitely kind of gave off like, I'm better than these girls too. Like, I'm better than these posh girls. I'm one of the boys. I'm bohemian. I smoke cigarettes, like, I'm not going to go get blowouts. you know,
Yeah.
she
Oh,
had that
yeah.
vibe too. So they just like didn't mesh. But it's interesting because though, who was the person though who came out on top of that? And I don't just mean who ended up with the guy. I mean purely with the media. Kate was always better than Chelsea. Kate was
Yeah.
always better than Chelsea. She was pure. Chelsea was a slut. Like, yeah,
Well,
Kate
of
was
course, the heir to the throne is gonna pick the best woman because
exactly. He has to.
she's
She
the future
parties, but
queen.
like in a good way, not in a Chelsea
Yeah,
way
she's
where
the
she's
future
like
queen.
dirty and stumbling out of the club. Kate's just like fun and breezy. And again, Kate sometimes did get hit on, for just shit for partying. But if she was going out with Chelsea, she wasn't gonna get shit on for partying. Chelsea was. So again,
Yeah.
it's all interesting, guys. And it's all this is never to say like don't dislike Kate, but it is to say if you can just fangirl over her and not really understand and want to talk about, and even just like in your head when you see the things she's doing, admit to yourself like this is her using these microaggressions or this misogyny, you're feeding into the system and you're just as much a part of the problem as she is.
We have to look into it because, like, even, like, I am a white woman, and as much as I want to be an ally, like, I'm going to make mistakes, and those like, you know what I mean? It's the
Yeah.
whole don't put people on a pedestal and don't demonize them to the point that you've dehumanized them in one way or another.
Exactly. And I think too, just like check yourself and check your friends. Like,
Yes.
and
Call your people in. You need to call your white people
exactly.
in, okay?
And also just like realize that a lot of like females that are in this setting are not fighting the cause. They are making sure the cause continues for generations to come.
Alex, you should see the way I ruin Thanksgiving for everyone every single year.
That's
It's
like
my
me.
favorite thing. It's my favorite thing. I'm like, "Oh, we're gonna celebrate a fake holiday where we killed and tortured and gave diseases to indigenous people.
Oh,
Wow, happy
you
Thanksgiving."
should have seen
I
me
call it the
when
day of gratitude. I don't let anyone mess with it. I went to
oh
Italy last
no.
year so I could avoid Thanksgiving, and then the front desk girl who didn't speak a lot of English, she was like, "Oh, what is this Thanksgiving?" And I gave my whole speech, and then
Yeah.
after I gave my stump speech, and then my brother goes, "It's basically a day where you eat a lot, drink a lot, and watch football." And she was like, "Okay."
We no, 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 no. That's just in starting in with that. No, no, no. That's Thanksgiving. I'm also that
Oh my
person.
god. On that note, do you have anything else before we wrap up here? Any final thoughts?
I'm excited to see Kate in another Boss Babe suit. I cannot wait though until we get a bit more impact. No, honestly, a
I
lot more
agree.
impact, actually. Let's be real. I really try to give Kate more of a benefit of the doubt because again, it's so interesting. It's like we've talked about all of this and I know these things, but even me, I try to soften the blows on how I criticize Kate because there's just like this little knee jerk reaction like, but she's so sweet. She doesn't deserve that. And they're mean to her.
She's pretty. Her
Yeah,
hair
like
looks
she's
like it's
she's
nice to
trying,
touch.
you guys. She's trying. Charles won't let her
Yeah, I get
work.
it.
Like
You better work.
you better work, bitch. Like, whatever. It's just you want to protect her, but Kate has agency, baby. Like Kate has agency.
Baby,
She's
baby.
not stupid. And it's like even people are like, of course she's not stupid. It's like, no, though. You do think she's stupid in a way. You do think she's a clothes horse. Like her fans think she's a clothes horse, but they'll never want to admit it. Cause I think
Oh,
they just as
never.
much don't want her to speak more. They don't want her to say she supports Me Too. They don't want her to say she supports Black Lives Matter. Yes, they want to know she's not racist. Yes, they want to know that she would protect someone if they're saying they're being hurt and stuff, but she would never label herself as these things. It's like the classic 2012 Taylor Swift being asked if she's a feminist, and her be like, no, I've always been taught that like if you work just as hard as men do, you'll be equal and get what they want. Like she literally said stuff like this. I'm just
This is a
like,
good reminder. Honestly, ending on this note is a very good reminder that, like, Taylor Swift has disappointed us before Matt Healy, and
oh
that's
yeah.
important to not forget.
And this is a good
Yeah, but
sorry, and I'd say on that note too, it's a good reminder that Kate disappointed us before Megan came along. She always the foreshadowing
yes.
was there. She was always going to act like that. But unfortunately, that's great PR, baby. Okay.
It's
It's
true,
great
honestly,
PR.
her PR as of this point has been able to capture what they want, and that is that they can
Chef's
project the
kiss.
future a future Queen Elizabeth who was more popular arguably than the monarchy onto Kate, and that is,
Mhm.
a job well done, but at the expense of being a fully formed
Oh,
human.
yes, and just, again, holding on to really ism values. And look, that's the reason why they sent her out when Harry was in the UK for his trial, because she is a blank slate. William's gonna bring
Yep.
all the drama with his brother and his anger issues. Charles gonna bring the drama, Camilla the drama. Even the Wessex is just like they're boring, so who's gonna even click on them? But Kate, she can bring you a click. She can bring you an easily digestible 30-minute segment about her playing rugby and talking to men about it. And then if you have to bring up Harry, it's about, wow, it's so sad he's, whining about that while Kate is out here spreading knowledge and listening and learning. It's that
I'll
clean
give you
slate
a
to project
wait,
onto.
wait, I have it. Blank space, but blank slate, baby, and
She's
I'll write your name. Look, I did it.
I would say, what is it? What is it? She's a I'm not like other girls dressed like every single girl. I don't know. That was bad.
She's
She's our
no, but she's com
Barbie.
she's a Barbie. You can make her rugby Barbie, you can make her business
Military
Barbie, you can
Barbie.
make her mother Barbie, but what else is in there?
Yeah,
What else is
military
in there?
Barbie. We've got it all, baby. We got boss babe
We've got it
Barbie.
all.
We've got separate wave Barbie. Yeah, we've
We've
got
got it all.
sporty Barbie. I just can't
On
wait for
sale,
more.
9.99. So, yeah, that is the episode. This has been so fun just not doing like a whole life story on Kate, but just diving into a couple different points and really seeing how the media frames these things too and the
Mm,
media participation. We will be doing something similar for Megan. That episode will drop in 2 weeks.
yes.
And then don't forget our Patreon and Apple subscription will start next week on Tuesday. We are recording our Princess Margaret episode, which is super exciting. So make sure you sign up. And remember, in the future, that will mean ad free episodes. There's going to be discussions there. Our show notes are free for the public over on Patreon. So a lot of good stuff, a lot of really exciting stuff. Coming up, we have a really fun interview too, which we'll talk about more during our Megan episode. But a pretty big deal,
Yeah,
a pretty big
we're
deal.
very
And
excited.
she's
Amazing.
fantastic. I cannot wait. So yeah, in the meantime, be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Lady Audacity. If you have questions, concerns, comments, or ideas for future episodes, you can email us at ladyaudacity@gmail.com. And until next time,
Pinkies up.
pinkies up, baby.
There's a whole Catherine Olsen, I think is how you properly say her name. Sorry,
I
one
believe you.
moment.
It's like that or oyster. It's something.
Yeah,
I know who you're talking about though. I hate that I recognize bylines now,
right.
but
I'm
I
just
do. I'm like, "Oh yeah, Catherine. I think she writes for the Daily Mail." And I hate that I think I know that.
right. Exactly.
These are not things that I wish took up brain space.
Cool girls are above all hot. Hot and understanding. Cool girls never get angry. They only smile in a chagrined, loving manner.
Chagrined. Sorry.
Chagrined?
Here, one
Chagrined.
chagrin.
Fuck, and I
Yeah,
was
it's
saying that
chagrined.
right.
Chagrined.
Chagrined. Chagrined.
It's like
Smile in a chagrin.
chagrined.
Chagrin. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, chagrined.
They only smile in a chagrined, loving
It
manner.
was close, girl. It was close enough.
You said
No, it was beautiful.
chagrined. I like
Yo,
saying
you
it.
got it. No, you
Chagrin.
got it.
Okay. Take 3. One moment.
Chamomile over here. What does she say today? This is my Camilla Tominey accent. She's very posh.
I think she's trying really hard to be posh. That's what I think the funniest thing about
hard.
it.
So hard.
I don't think that's really her voice.
Probably not.